While at Syracuse Law School, Biden was involved in a plagiarism incident. He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation. He was given an F, but appealed to the faculty and allowed to repeat the course. He got a B. This comes in the middle of another controversy about plagiarism in Biden's campaign speeches. Today, he dismissed charges that he routinely adopts phrases from other politicians' speeches, called it much ado about nothing. Essentially, Biden said, everyone does it.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
But to the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump, for example.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
This is how it sounded when Robert Kennedy said those words in 1968.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
That our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship.
President John Kennedy's inaugural, 1961. Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising. Robert Kennedy's friend and speechwriter.
If what he did was to present Robert Kennedy's thoughts and statements and speeches as his own, then of course
once again, the question of character dominates presidential politics. First, it was Gary Hart who pulled out of the race because of his relationship with Donna Rice. Today, it was Democratic Senator Joseph Biden. In his case, the transgression was using other people's words and ideas while embellishing his own record. Here's John Dancy.
Joe Biden found himself living the presidential candidate's worst nightmare. Television crews lying in wait for him everywhere. At the train station where he wasn't, and at home where he was. The camera's presence part of this year's now familiar drama, The Candidate in Trouble. This afternoon, the familiar end to the drama, as Biden pulled out of the presidential race.
I made some mistakes. But now, the exaggerated shadow of those mistakes has begun to obscure the essence of my candidacy and the essence of Joe Biden.
Biden's troubles began just 2 weeks ago in Iowa, with reports he had plagiarized a speech by England's fiery Labour Party leader, Neil Kinnock. There was more. A videotape caught Biden at a neighborhood coffee in New Hampshire, making exaggerated claims about his college record.
Went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class.
In fact, as Biden finally conceded, he finished near the bottom of his class.
Only one prominent Democrat suggested today that Biden had made the wrong decision, that he should have stayed in the race and insisted his entire public record be considered. That was Gary Hart. Ken Bodie, NBC News, Davenport, Iowa.
I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university? Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
People in Britain would have been familiar with those words. They heard the same ones in a political commercial from Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Why am I the first Kinnock in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university? Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations?
Biden saw the Kinnock commercial and evidently loved it.
Was it because they were weak? Those people who could work 8 hours underground and then come up and play football? Weak?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania and come up after 12 hours and play football for 4 hours?
Biden had told other audiences he admired Kinnock, not this one. This one, he later said, he had listening in hushed silence.
No, it's not because they weren't as smart. It's not because they didn't work as hard. It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent, or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment? Of course not.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.